Hey guys, where are you in your retirement journey? Are you in the planning phase, just started at phase, or are you well into it? Let me ask you a question. Would you be surprised to know that roughly 11,000 people are going to turn age 65 over that 4 year period, 24 through 20? That's roughly 4.1 million people per year turning 65. Would it surprise you that the average age of retirement, though, is 61? Or how about that in 2022, 5.6 million people applied for Social Security? Okay, a lot of numbers 4.1 million, 5.6. You get it. There is a large cohort between 24 and 27, that baby boomer generation, that are retiring, and it's going to escalate through that period. I read in an article that it increases 12% a year, more people turning 65. So it made me start thinking about what concerns do people have going into retirement. Quite honestly, y'all may or may not know this from some of my other videos, but today is my last day. I started this video after I got back from work, turning in my laptop, my entry card, my keys, whole nine yards. I am officially retired as of now. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to do a video and share as a finance guy. I mean, I've been in finance my adult life. I still have concerns going into retirement. So I thought, let me share what my concerns are and then ask you. Y'all tell me what y'all are concerned about. I think it will be an interesting conversation. So, hey guys, welcome back to Old Guy Talks Money. Y'all are enjoying the content. Please hit the like and subscribe. It will help me grow the channel. Let's talk then about what my concerns are. I'm going to give you the top three concerns I have going into retirement. Number one, running out of money. I got to believe, now I could be wrong, got to believe though, that most people, that's their number one concern. I know it's my number one concern, and I want you to think about what I said. I've been in finance my entire life. I'm an accountant, okay? I'm a certified public accountant. I'm comfortable with numbers and the concepts, and I've saved and I planned, still worried about it. So, gut check. How do you know if you got enough? I'm going to give you two ways to kind of suss out whether you think you might be ready, you have enough money. I actually did a whole video on this, but I'm going to kind of just summarize it real quickly. Now, the one I like the best is to have 25 years worth of living expenses saved. So, how do you calculate that? All right. It starts with a good budget. What do you think you're going to need on a monthly basis? Okay. Guys, I can tell you what I spent every month going back to 2009. And I'm an accountant, I keep a spreadsheet. I have a really good idea of what my needs are going to be in retirement on a monthly basis. All right, so that's where it starts. What does your monthly budget look like? Okay. From that, you need to subtract any sources of other income. So maybe you've already started Social Security, or maybe you have a pension. Okay. What you're trying to do is get down to the number that you're going to have to rely on your portfolio to throw off. Okay. So take your budget number, subtract from it other income, get that number, multiply it times 12 to get an annual number, and then multiply that times 25. That's a good rule of thumb. Now, related to that is the 4% rule. Now, the 4% rule was developed by a guy by the name of Bingen. I'm not going to do his first name because I'll butcher it. Because I'm not sure I remember it correctly. But the guy Bingen, he came up with a 4% rule, and he did it by back testing portfolios back to the beginning of time. Basically said in a portfolio that was 65% equities, 35% bonds, if I remember correctly, that over a 30-year period, if you took out 4% a year adjusted annually for inflation, would not run out of money. Very similar to the 25 years worth of living expense. Two good rules of thumb to kind of suss out, gut check, determine, hey, this helps me alleviate my concerns that I'm not going to run out of money. Second big concern in retirement, and when I tell you this, you're going to laugh at me and said, we just heard your number one concern and this is your number two concern. Are you seriously telling us this? But hear me out. So my number two concern going into retirement is not spending enough. I want y'all to think about this. And again, I don't know where y'all are in your trajectory, your path, your glide path to retirement. But If you're like me, I started 5 years ago planning to be ready to go at 60. Switching from a saver mindset to a spending mindset is going to be difficult. Going to be difficult for me. And I want to show you this. If you won't, I will leave a link to this simulator, and I think it will illustrate kind of my point of why I'm concerned a little bit. All right. So look at this, and y'all forgive me because my keyboard's in the tray down here and it's hard to see. But essentially, this is a Monte Carlo simulator. And what it's going to do is based on the information we put in, it's going to run 5,000 simulations, and then it's going to tell you how theoretically they would perform. Okay. Other thing I will tell you is that when you put in annual deposits or annual withdrawals, that it will adjust it for the inflation number that you put in. So it is kind of building that into the model. I want you to understand, I'm not saying you can absolutely rely on this, but this is another tool to kind of suss out, do I have enough money? How will it last? How will it perform? Okay. Again, it's not the answer, but it is more information. Okay. So let's look at what I put in here. My current age is 60, retirement age is 60. I'm going to put in that I have a portfolio of $1 million. I'm not going to add to that anymore, so that's zero right there. All right. I'm going to take out 4% a year, and it will adjust annually based on the inflation factor I put in, 40,000. The other thing I simulated here was a stock market crash, and I'm going to say we're going to have a pullback of 20% at age 65. Now, let me get over here and I'll show you the drop down so you can get really aggressive with it. All right. I'm going to say that I have my portfolio at 65 in stocks, 30 in bonds, 5 in cash. I'm going to say that my stock returns 6%, the bonds 3, cash 2, and inflation is at 3%. I feel like these are relatively conservative numbers. Y'all can go out there and play with it. Again, I'm going to try to drop a link in the comment section. But at 6% return on stocks, I feel is pretty conservative. 3% on bonds. We know interest rates are falling. I don't know what they'll normalize over, but I feel like that's pretty fair. Cash may be a little high, but currently high yield savings are still above 4%. You can play with these and see, but this is kind of a good place to start. Now we're going to hit calculate. I want you to look at this. This goes back to my point about I have a concern about not spending enough, not enjoying all that money that I saved and continuing to just live very, very frugally. And, why did I work all these years? So let's look at the numbers. Worst case scenario, and this is shows the importance, or not the importance, but the risk of sequence of return risk. You have to take money out, the market goes down and never comes back, and you keep taking it out and you end up running out of money. 71. That's the worst case scenario. Look at this, 93% of all these scenarios survive until 110. And I want you to see right here that I'm trying to look on one screen and do this on the other. So right here at age 70, I started at $1 million and I'm up to 3.3 million. I mean, look how big these numbers get. Here's another $3 million number. It's basically 3 times what I started with. Now, that's not a bad thing. Y'all, I'm not a believer in that there's a book out there that's, die with zero. And I would love to leave my kids a legacy. But by the same token, I want to make sure that I enjoy retirement. So I'm a little worried about it. I'm a little worried about not spending enough, moving from a saver to a spender. Now, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to handle this? Well, what I think I'm going to do is set up guardrails. So 4% rule is a good rule of thumb, it's a good base. I think what I'm going to do is maybe set guardrails of like 5 and 3%. So when the market's good, maybe I'll take out 5%. And when I need to adjust down because of market performance, I may go back down to 3%. Okay, so not just get locked into that 4% and just let it go. The other thing I'm going to do is make sure that I have adequate cash. Okay, I have roughly 18 months worth of living expenses in cash. Probably would like to have a little bit more, but I feel comfortable with that. And why is that important? All right, so think about it. If I had enough in cash, I don't know what the market actually did here, um, but if I had enough in cash that the market is down at a period of time that I need to take that 4%, and I can take it out of cash instead of having to sell investments at a loss, it allows those investments to potentially come back. So that's the other thing. As it relates to spending, I am going to be very specific about setting up spending goals. I'm going to set up sinking funds. So if I want to travel. My wife and I have, worked hard. I'm taking the family to Puerto Rico for Christmas. I know it's after Christmas, but we're going in a couple of weeks. But my goal is to travel. So I'm going to set up sinking funds, earmark that money, try to grow and save it over time, um, based on my budget, and that way I don't. I'm hoping it will free me up to be okay that it's okay to spend, if that makes sense. Again, I'm very good at saving money, very, very bad at spending money. The other thing I'm doing, and if y'all laugh at me, that's okay because I don't care, but I'm actually using the cash stuffing method to save some. So I'm a cash guy. I mean, y'all look at me, look at my hair. I mean, I don't have much hair and I'm gray. Um, but every week I go to the bank. I may be the only person that goes to the bank. I go to the bank and I take out spending money. And at the end of the week, or the end of the next week, when it's time to go back to the bank, whatever I have, I stuff in envelopes. And I earmark those envelopes for specific purposes. Okay. So, for instance, one of the things I'm saving for is a new microphone. Okay? I have a nice microphone, a Blue Yeti. Y'all don't know if you know this, but I tend to be a mumbler. And my voice will drop off some. And so I think I want to get one of these. So I've got an envelope. I'm saved for that. Um, those kind of things. And I'm going to stuff that in there. I've got one for, a getaway, a weekend getaway for me and my wife. To be very specific, stuff that cash, let it grow over time. And then when, that envelope's full, I'm hoping it will relax me enough to say, okay, you saved this. Now it's okay to spend it. I know how I am. I know it's going to be difficult. So that's my um that's my number two concern going into retirement. All right, so number three of the top three things that old guy is concerned about going into retirement is a lack of routine. So I'm an accountant, certified public accountant. And one of the things that accountants are good at is throwing hours at a problem. So you got an issue you need to solve, put an accountant on it, and they know we'll work Saturdays, we'll Sundays, whatever. We throw hours at problems. And there was a period of time, probably up until 2023, end of 2023, when I said, okay, guys, I'm going home at the end of next year. That I was up at 3:30 at the office at 5, and I would work till 5, 6, whatever. Okay. And I did that for years. Now, to be fair, this past year I slowed down. I was going in at 7, and as I moved through time, I got to the point where I may leave at 3. I was transitioning stuff, moving stuff out of the, mentoring the people and turning those things over so that when I left, they had the ball and there was no hiccups. But I'm scared about that lack of routine. I've done it so long, that's all I know. And I can tell you as I have slowed down that I've started staying up later. I actually saw 10 o'clock at night one time. Think about that. 10 o'clock at night. It's late. Started sleeping a little bit later. Um, Not saying that I'll go crazy and become a night owl, but I'm worried about it. My family, I grew up, my father worked at Lockheed many, many years ago, and he was on swing shift. And I guarantee you, my natural circadian rhythm probably being a night owl. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know that I want to do that. I want to make sure I have a routine. So that's something I'm gonna have to work about. What about you guys? I mean, is that something y'all are concerned about, or is that just more personal to me? I feel like everybody's worried about running out of money. I don't know. It's probably a good many people worried about spending. I don't know if the lack of routine is one of them. All right, so I've given you the top three things I'm worried about. What am I not worried about? So I retired as a C-suite employee. Okay, and a lot of people said, "Can handle that." You went from a position where you had significant amount of involvement in the company to now what's your purpose going to be? And I don't feel that. I'm not worried about that. If anything, I want this to be my purpose. I want to provide information, education, conversation around personal finance. Y'all, I feel like, and I get it, there's a bell curve out there, personal finance knowledge, but this fear that far more people are on this side of that curve and need more information, more conversation around finance than are on this side. I could be wrong, but nothing against my kids, but I bet, I don't know that they could write a check. I, I don't, let me rephrase that. I don't know if they've ever written a check, but I mean, there are certain things, that I don't know that people do anymore. How many people out there my age remember balancing a bank statement? The bank statement would come in and you have the checks and you go through your register and you mark them off and you fill out the little form. I don't think kids do that anymore. I, everything becomes so electronic. I wonder sometimes how people even know how much money they actually have in their account because when you're keeping that check register, yeah, you can play the float if you want to, but you should have a pretty good idea of what your actual balance after everything clears. So again, purpose. 3 months from now, I'm gonna come back and say I'm lost. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Don't think that's going to happen. Could happen. Don't think it is. Other thing I'm not worried about is being bored. Everybody says you're going to be bored in 3 months. We know. I mean, think about what I said about my routine for years. You're going to be bored, and it may happen. It may. 3 months from now, I may be like, I'm bored out of my mind. I got to do something. But between the YouTube content, you see it. I play enough guitar to say I play. I haven't played as much lately. And do that. At 60 years old, I'm a pretty avid video game. I have a list of TV shows I want to watch. My wife said, it's going to take you a while to get to the bottom of YouTube. Because, I consume a lot of YouTube content. And it's going to take me a while to get to the bottom of it. But my point is, I'm not concerned about getting bored. I mean, are y'all? Maybe I'm wrong. Now, the other thing I guess I'm not concerned about is, the social aspect. Um, it's funny, if y'all knew me, I am very, very, very introverted, almost painfully shy. And I had this weird thing that I'm sure a lot of y'all have, and that is if you said, "Old guy, we need you to get up and speak in front of 500 people," I could do it. I'd have the normal butterflies, but I mean, it wasn't crushing. I'd just get up and speak. But if you said, "Okay, in that same 500 people room, now I want you to go around and introduce yourself individually," crush me. I know it's a weird kind of why can you public speak, but just talking I get it. But this kind of thing, this interaction doesn't bother me. So the social aspect, I'm not overly concerned about. I think more people concerned for me that I'll never leave the house because I'm very content. We'll see. We'll see as we move through time. Um, I probably talk more now to my wife. She said, "You're actually saying words," because I'm one of those people. I have a limited number of words per day. Once I reach that limit, I'm done. So now that I'm not in that work environment, I have more words at home. So I don't know that the social aspect will be a big deal to me. It may. I don't know. And what about y'all? Are y'all concerned about it? Has it caused problems? Do you feel isolated? Do you feel like you've lost friendships? Again, right now, I'm not concerned. Okay, so I said a whole lot of words at you. Hope the information was a little educational, maybe a little entertaining. Please hit the like and subscribe. It will help me grow the channel. And I will see you guys in the future.